Welcome to the Life Coach Lounge. I'm Angela.
I'm Lisa.
I'm Emily. We're three life coaches who found connection in faith, friendship, and purpose.
Get ready for real talk, relatable stories, and practical tips you can actually use.
We're so happy you're here at the Life Coach Lounge. Hello, and welcome back to the Life Coach Lounge. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hello.
It is so nice to see your faces outside of the Marcos. As we've talked about before in the Marcos, our Marcos are called Gals in the Wild, and so we actually have on full makeup, and I actually put a brush through my hair today, so showing up in full beauty.
I'll say though, when you girls talk about like having your Zoom outfit on, like business on top, party on the bottom with the joggers and the slippers and everything, and like how comfortable you are, I cannot think of anything more uncomfortable than that. Like if I was not fully put together, I would literally not be able to live in my own skin and sit here. I would not feel comfortable at all. So props to you girls. I think that's amazing.
Well, that goes perfectly with what we're discussing today. So today, today on this episode, we are going to be discussing living in the discomfort. So maybe I should welcome you all to the discomfort zone just for this episode only. Where growth can happen. And also, I highly recommend wearing your comfiest clothes.
And for if Angela, you're comfortable in them.
Apparently for Angela, it looks different.
I mean, I have denim on. Come on. Denim is comfortable.
Joggers are more comfortable. Just saying.
And my cotton comfy lounge pants are super comfy.
No judgment here, though, right? No judgment.
Nope.
Come as you are.
So we are going to be discussing today the topic of discomfort. And I think it's important to start the podcast by reminding each other and our listeners that discomfort isn't the enemy. So often, I know for myself personally, up until the last couple years of becoming a coach and being coached personally a lot, I would have definitely thought that discomfort was like a no word. Like, can we not talk about discomfort? And if we're all being completely transparent with our listeners, even the three of us behind the scenes of this podcast even said to each other, like, what are you going to talk about? I don't know. What are you going to talk about? I don't know. I don't want to have a come apart on this podcast. And I just told Emily and Angela, I'm like, I have all of my magic little potions right here, just in case I start to feel emotional because somebody asked me a tough question. So discomfort is just that. It's uncomfortable. But it doesn't have to be our enemy. It is 100% true that in your discomfort, you can find value, but it has to be a choice. You get to decide to find value in your discomfort. So I just think it's important to, while we get into this episode, to just know that, yes, we're making light of it a little bit, like, welcome to the discomfort zone, but also nothing bad is going to happen. Like, we're just here to have a good conversation.
And it's part of the human experience. It's unrealistic to think that you can get through life without discomfort. And yet, like you said, we try to avoid it at all costs for most of our lives, not realizing that that's actually where a lot of growth can happen. But you have to go through it. You can't go around it. You can't avoid it for too long, but it's part of life. So let's figure out how to work with it and not against it. Speaking from personal experience.
And I would argue life would be actually pretty boring if everything was perfect all the time.
So true.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can get on board with that. I'm kind of looking forward to heaven. I'm just saying, like, no discomfort. Like, give me all the unicorns and rainbows. I am there for it.
I am not opposed to long durations of time of rainbows and unicorn and magic juices. I'm not. However, I also know that those days would become pretty mundane and not a lot of growth would be happening. Like,
Yeah, this side
I
of heaven.
feel like I am, when life is a little too good in those moments, sometimes I feel like I am being more robotic in those because I don't have to work as hard. Like, I don't have to put forth as much effort. Like,
Yeah. And God does use our circumstances to sanctify us and change us
mhm.
and help us grow. So yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Shed a little light. Although I'm down for the unicorn and rainbow party. Can we just yeah. I actually where I live in upstate New York, I am just happy when the sun comes out. Like
And
Amen to that.
that right there gets me a little bit out of my discomfort zone. Yikes. So I have just a fun question to ask both of you. So if you think about discomfort in life, regardless of what it is, whether it's situational, it's relational, it's emotional, physical, what would be a song that would represent how you were feeling? So when I came up with this question, the song that immediately came, there were two. There were, and since we'd like to keep this podcast PG, I went with the second one. But I'll just say that the first song is written by Pink, and I love Pink. But sometimes there's some powerful language that Lisa also likes to use sometimes. So we're not going to choose that song today, Lisa. We're going to choose Under Pressure, the remix version by Queen and David Bowie.
love it.
So you're welcome now that that is stuck in your head. But when I feel like I'm living any kind of discomfort, like that could definitely be a theme song in my head. Like we just feel like we're under pressure and yet it doesn't last forever. So can you think of a song that might, even if it's rainbows and unicorns? I don't know if there is a song about rainbows and unicorns.
The first one that came to my mind was Tennessee Whiskey by Chris Stapleton.
There you go. I
That's
love it.
right there.
I love that. I had two. I'm going to mention both of mine. I tend to maybe go towards the pity party, get all dramatic. And so all by myself, thinking, oh, why is this happening to me? Woe is
Mm-hmm.
me. Like, nobody's helping me with this, right? And then the other one I thought of was What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger. Again, somewhat dramatic because most of the things that I'm experiencing as far as discomfort isn't actually going to kill me. So I guess that shows that I get a little dramatic when things get hard.
I think it shows that you're human. Otherwise, they wouldn't have songs about them.
So true. That resonate so perfectly.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So, in just before we started today's podcast, Angela had some amazing words of wisdom about discomfort. So, I am going to turn the mic over to her to just share a little bit, Angela, about what you were saying about discomfort can be both circumstantial as well as all up in our heads.
Yeah.
So can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So there's pain that we all experience in life, and then there's the thoughts that accompany the pain, which brings even more suffering. So, for example, I mean, it can be anything, right? It can be just being really cold, something simple like that. You will feel physical discomfort if you are really, really cold. But if you're thinking, I'm freezing, I'm so cold. When are we going to go inside? I'm so cold. Like you're just going to exacerbate the suffering. When our dog passed away, one of the first things I said to my husband was, we will not regret any decision we made. We decide today that he lived a perfect life and died a perfect death. We decide right now that that is our thought and we don't look back, because I knew that I could fall into regret and we should have done this different. We should have done that different. We should have gotten the surgery that we decided not to do, like whatever it was, like, no, I'm not going there. The pain of losing him, the grief that we were feeling was painful enough. I mean, extreme grief and discomfort. So, and it can even be things like chronic pain or an illness. So, if you have something wrong with you physically, there is pain and discomfort in that. But the way you think about it also can bring an element of suffering. Last week I was working out and I hurt my back. Thought maybe 1 or 2 stretches would take care of it. And here I am 8 days later. My back is still sore. And I popped into the Marcos the other day and told you girls how upset I was, how angry I was because I couldn't do everything that I wanted to do because it hurt so bad and it wasn't fair. Like I was causing my own drama and my own suffering with what was already a painful circumstance. And one of the ones that is such a classic example is the pandemic, right? I mean, we were all experiencing discomfort, being told we had to close our business. We had to stay home from work. We had to protect ourselves from getting sick. We couldn't go out. I mean, we were all experiencing discomfort, but then comes the worry. What if I get sick? Or the fear of financial loss or food shortages. Will I be able to feed my family? Like all these thoughts that are just going rampant in our mind, causing more fear, more discomfort, more pain and suffering onto what was already going on in our lives. So I think the awareness of what your thoughts are in a moment of pain and discomfort is extremely empowering. Like you can take control of your thoughts. Think about what you're thinking about to shift that, even in a time while you're still feeling pain or discomfort.
I can speak to all of that when it comes to the chronic pain aspect of things. I live with syndrome, disorder, illness. It's so rare, it's not even well documented or studied. That is daily chronic pain. And honestly, I think one of the many things that has got me through the initial diagnosis of the disorder. And then, like what you were saying, even about the pandemic, like, okay, so here you are, you have this, it's not curable, could possibly spread. Here's all the things. You'll be in pain every day and it could get worse. What? Okay. So talk about for a period of time, I was definitely living in fear, living in worry, doing my own research. Like, is this something that you can pass on to your children? Like, what is happening here? And I've mentioned before that I definitely walk both lines of health when it comes to approaches, both Eastern and Western. So while doing the physical therapy, getting injections for pain, taking medication that really just made me feel worse, I also did acupuncture and chiropractic care and some homeopathic medications, as well as, I didn't know it then because I wasn't aware of what life coaching was, but just in meeting with my therapist, like journaling and getting into my head made my discomfort level, even if it went from on a scale of 1 to 10, even back in 2021, it was a daily 8, if not higher. Even if it went to a 7, even if it went down one number, I felt like it was a huge win, because you're so right, Angela. You can get so caught up in your thoughts, and then all those worries, all those fears, all those what ifs become your belief.
Yeah.
And you are just on that wheel over and over and over again. I wake up in pain. I'm going to stay in pain. I'm always going to be in pain. And I am not in remission. I'm pretty close. And I fully believe that it is a list of reasons why, but definitely paying attention to, this is my circumstance. This is what I can learn from my circumstance. And this is what I can think about it. This is what I can choose to think about it and not make it the enemy.
Yep.
So I love what you said about that. It's so true. Do you have anything to add to that, Emily, about what Angela was saying?
I mean, I love what both of you have said. And one thing that came up while she was talking was I think both of you have coached me when we were going through something really intense with one of my daughters, even last fall. I needed coaching, I needed friends to help me kind of push against what I was adding. Like I was adding so much mental drama, so much emotional suffering, like Angela said, to the already very difficult circumstance. The circumstance did not seem to be improving one like at all, no matter what we did. And so both of you have helped me to see how I was adding suffering to that. And I think for me, it came to acceptance. So I don't know if that was something that you had to go through, Lisa, with your diagnosis, or even Angela, like with your dog passing. I think just accepting this is the circumstance and almost getting also to the point where I had to say, nothing has gone wrong here. This is exactly what should be happening, and God's going to use it. Accepting it was a big thing for me, the acceptance piece. Then I could kind of see where I was adding extra drama or extra suffering because of my thoughts about the circumstance. But I needed coaching to help me with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In
When
reality,
you have pain, yeah, when you have pain, emotional, physical, any kind of pain, it is really hard to see outside of that uncomfortable circumstance.
And the acceptance piece, yes, totally right. Like that was a tough one for me, if I'm being completely honest. It was, again, this was pre-coaching for me, but accepting, first of all, accepting in my head when people would say, just you have to come to terms with it, you have to accept it. In my head, acceptance and condoning it were synonymous, and I had to learn that it's not. I can accept the situation for how it has unfolded and what is happening, because the situation, the circumstance are facts. I can accept them for what they are. I do not have to like, condone, be a rah rah about it. Like that is a completely different set of emotions, and that's completely different. So it took a while for me because I was very much caught up on, don't tell me I need to accept this, because I don't accept that this is what has happened, because in my mind, if I accepted it, it mean that I condoned it, and I did not. And I think because I had those thoughts, it also gave me discomfort spiritually, because it's easy. Oh, I say it's easy. Maybe it's not easy for everyone. It was easy for me in those hard years to kind of feel a little pissed off. Like, why is this happening to me? I don't like conversations that I write about in my journal or speak out loud to God. Like, what is happening? Why? Why? I don't understand. How am I supposed to accept this? I don't accept it. I choose not to accept it. So looking back in retrospect, I can definitely see that wasn't serving myself very much, and hence why it probably took me longer than it would today. I also recognize that it was necessary to go through it then. Otherwise, I wouldn't know what I know today.
I can relate to that so much, Lisa. Yeah, I fought against it too. Like, no, this is not fair. This is not right. This shouldn't be happening. Yeah, God and I had words also multiple times. Me sitting on the bathroom floor crying with a box of tissues next to me, asking why. And I realized why was not the right question to be asking. And I just needed to surrender. Like, okay, you've allowed this for a reason, and I don't have any explanation why right now. But God, I trust you. And so help me through it. But you're totally right. It is not easy when you're dealing with something that causes pain, any kind of pain. Not easy at all.
Yeah, it definitely muddies the waters for sure. So we're talking a little bit about tools. Like we've already just discussed a few tools to help in the discomfort of pick a thing, right? I know personally before just discussing topics and then coming up with this topic, I'm like, oh my gosh, where do I start? Like, it's life. It's just part of life. So what tools, survival tools, do you use? Emily, I'll start with you. Do you use when you're kind of going through the thick of it?
So prayer definitely is a number one tool for me. And when I don't feel that I have the words to even pray, I will reach out to my inner circle of praying friends that I know will actually pray. So reaching out for prayer for that kind of support. There's even been times when I've texted out to specific friends to say, hey, things are really hard right now. We are fine. Everyone is safe, but things are really hard and I could use prayer in this moment. Like they didn't even have to know the details. And that's been amazing to have friends. And another thing that I actually discovered in the recent situation that we've been working through is something called craniosacral therapy. So it's done by a massage therapist. You should go look it up. It's fascinating work. And I can't even really truly describe it, but it is body work to help whatever emotional energy is stored anywhere in my body that's causing physical pain, but the root of it is really emotional pain or trauma. And I don't use that word lightly. I know trauma can be something, a major event that has happened to somebody. However, I also believe all of us have some level of trauma, even if it doesn't point to a specific incident or a car accident or something like that. So it's the body work that she helps move those through. And also, we're talking the whole time too. So it's therapy. So I'm crying my eyes out when she's simply asking me basic questions about myself and my experience and what something feels like in my body. It sounds kind of woo woo if you haven't experienced it before, but it has been transformational for me to really get to some root feelings, beliefs, things that I have been holding on to for a long time and I didn't even know that they were there. So that's been a recent tool that I highly recommend if you feel like you just can't get to the next level of healing, whatever that might be. So, craniosacral therapy. And then, honestly, rest is a big one for me. It could be actually sleeping or anything that causes you to truly slow your breathing, clear your mind. It could be breath work. It could be getting out in nature more. Rest has been a huge tool for me, but that requires me to slow down and maybe say no to some things and maybe not get to some things on my to-do list, which is not easy for me to do, but necessary. I have found for me to get to a place of healing, get to a place of just recalibrating and being able to move on with life.
I know when you were talking, it made me think of one of the tools that I love to use personally. I use often with my daughter, and it's the 3-2-1, the grounding method. So it's somatic, which is like what you were just saying, Emily, like getting out in nature. Just walking outside is a way to, you don't have to walk outside to experience the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can do it just sitting wherever you are in that moment, but using your five senses somatically, it is impossible for our brains, the way they're wired, to stay in our anxious brain and concentrate on our five senses at the same time. Our brain cannot physically do both. So the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method in its simplest form is just remembering being where you are and looking for five things. Name five things that you see. Name four things that you can touch. Three things you can hear in that moment. Two things you can smell, and one thing you can taste. So if you just keep it incredibly simple and in that moment, just stay where you are and do that, it's incredibly eye-opening just how quickly your nervous system can just regulate just enough to help you get to that next step, whatever that next step is going to look like. So as soon as you said get out in nature, that made me think of using that technique. That's one of my favorites. How about you, Angela?
I would say the two biggest things for me are God's word, sword of the spirit, flipping the faith switch on and standing in faith and speaking it out loud. And then I am a walker and I love, love, love walking outside. So that was going to be the one that I said. I walk and walk and walk and walk. Sometimes I'll listen to something. Sometimes I'll just be quiet and, raise my awareness, my own thoughts, and think about things. Sometimes I'll cry, just processing whatever's coming up for me. Walking has done a lot for me. My kind of knee jerk when I feel emotional discomfort or pain is my husband calls it turtle in. I don't reach out. Like Emily was saying, she calls a friend for prayer or texts a friend. I am the total opposite. I turtle in. I don't reach out. To my husband, I don't reach out for help. I kind of plan my escape method, and it involves living off the grid and changing my name. Like, I have gone to some really extreme places mentally. And when I feel myself doing that, I know, okay, put on your shoes, go for a walk, get outside, take some deep breaths, and pull yourself out of this, Even if you have to talk to yourself. I mean, David does this in the Psalms, like telling yourself, snap out of this, like take control of your thoughts. What are you thinking? Speak God's word instead of the fear voice that's coming up in your head. So yeah, even just talking to yourself can go a long ways to pull yourself out of it.
I think it's so interesting that you brought up the turtling, as your husband calls it. I can totally relate to that. Was pretty much raised to persevere. Like you put your head down and you just do the next thing. And again, until coaching, I didn't realize that sometimes my putting my head down and persevering or turning inward was actually a form of my buffering. Like, I can do this. I don't need anybody's help. I don't have to ask for anybody's help. I was raised by a single mother for most of my childhood. So, I witnessed what it looked like to be independent and you just do the things, just keep persevering. And so, I love that you're at a place now, Angela, where you can be like, hello, it is time for you to go outside, go for a walk, go do the things.
Yeah, because I know what stuffing or avoiding emotions does. Like, I became numb for years doing that. And so taking my walk and processing what's coming up is me not falling back into that.
We could do a whole podcast on this one question that I'm going to ask both of you. But if you could explain in just a few sentences to our listeners what I meant when I said it's definitely could be a form of buffering for me. What does that mean to you, Emily? Because we all have forms of buffering. And we also can convince ourselves that the buffering that we're doing, it's good. Like, we're doing something great, positive, and look what I achieved because I did this thing when I didn't process this other thing. So just explain. I know you both know what I mean when I say I can persevere and use it as a form of buffering, what that means. But Emily, can you just give a couple sentences what you would explain, how you would explain that to our listeners?
So yeah, buffering is, I'll give an example, I guess, of what I do to buffer to illustrate. My buffering is cleaning and organizing. And the reason that I do that is because whatever is in my mind or my circumstances or whatever uncomfortable feels out of control, disordered, chaotic. And so my go-to buffer is to organize, clean, put everything back in order in my physical environment, thinking that's going to make me feel better, but really, and it seems like it's productive, like you said, Lisa, it's not a bad thing to clean and organize and put everything back in its place. But once that's all said and done, I still have the emotional discomfort, the mental drama, whatever it is going on inside of me is still there. I'm just avoiding it. So buffering is just something that you're doing to avoid the thing that you think might be too hard or too scary or too overwhelming or too daunting. That's what buffering is for me. And you said it's not necessarily bad. It could be. There are plenty of forms of buffering that are not healthy. I think the more dangerous types of buffering are those that are not in themselves bad habits or tasks because it can be deceiving thinking that you're actually being productive.
How about you, Angela? What would you add to?
I would describe it as anytime you are feeling emotional discomfort, you look for short-term pleasure that has a net negative result. So it can be eating a cookie, barbecue potato chips. It could be overeating, over drinking. And then, like you said, it could be something that looks great, like overworking, over exercising. It can be whatever you are doing to avoid dealing with your emotions, processing your emotions of what is really going on. So, yeah, we're all looking for that dopamine hit, right? And my go-to buffer is scrolling. I pick up my phone anytime I am feeling discomfort. My phone comes out and I start to scroll. And we all know where our brains go when that happens. So, not good. I mean, you get the dopamine hit, right? But I'm not dealing with what I need to be dealing with. So, yeah, that's how I would explain it.
I was thinking when you said that sometimes I have even used a form, like, again, seems positive in the moment, but as I am working on building a website, which I am just teaching myself how to do. So I'm learning a lot of things, which is wonderful. And there are times when I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing? Why am I even doing this? So I will go watch another YouTube video. I will go sign up for some free educational thing on building a website or what you need to do. Like the education piece, like the overconsumption almost of what it takes to build a website, I will find myself there as a form of not just doing the thing, especially in 2025. Like there's pretty much so many platforms out there that I could technically have a website up by the end of the day if I wanted to, but my brain is telling me it's not good enough. No one's going to look at this, like all these reoccurring intrusive thoughts. And so then I just go find something else to keep educating myself on how to do the thing without actually doing the thing. Like, how many times did I ask the two of you, well, what do you think about this platform? Well, what do you think about this platform? Have you heard anything about this? Like, instead of just make a decision, like do the thing. So yeah, like you said, anything to avoid what is the task at hand.
Yep.
Sometimes even for my husband, I'll be like, he is spending an awful lot of time in the basement doing things. And in my head, I'm like, what is he avoiding? What is happening here? Because it's typically because, yes, this needs to get done too. So I'm going to put all my energy into this. So at the end of the day, I can be like, look what I did. Just like Emily was saying. And then at the same time, at the end of the day, I still have not addressed my other thing. And I think sometimes we don't even recognize that there is that discomfort, quote unquote, that we're feeling. Like it's subconscious.
It's the B-roll. Yeah, it's kind of the undercurrent of discomfort or whatever emotion is kind of running in the background all the time that you're just not wanting to pull into the forefront, right?
So if we were to give a little comfort and discomfort challenge to our listeners, and after listening to some of our own personal experiences as well as tools that we use, is there anything that you would encourage them to do, like, in the moment? Like, we've talked about pause, we've talked about walking and going outside. Maybe, Angela, you're really good at the journaling. Do you have like a journaling prompt that
So
maybe you could give them?
I think that once you get everything down on paper, challenge yourself to write or to maybe underline the facts only.
All right, I'm going to stop you right there because I'm going to back you up for a listener who has no idea what you mean when you say get it all down on paper. Get
Okay.
what down on paper?
So whatever let's say, I'll just make up an example because this never happened to me. But like, let's say one of your kids does something crazy, okay? And you're feeling like you want to explode. So sit down and write it all out. Whatever comes up for you. They shouldn't have done this. I can't believe this happened. I'm feeling so angry. Like, whatever is coming up, emotions that are coming up, thoughts that are coming up. You can even write the situation. This is what happened. Then, when you get it all out of you, underline the facts, and there will not be many. It will be very easy to spot. They shouldn't have done that is not a fact. It's a thought. So a fact is something you can prove in a court of law. So, okay, they did this or they said this. That is the fact. Now, everything else is a thought. Those thoughts are what is causing your emotional suffering. And so when you know that, you can shift. You can make a shift. And that's when I would recommend, okay, now I know my thought, they shouldn't have done this, is what's causing me to feel so angry. I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to process the anger. I'm going to let it run through me. I'm going to maybe stomp up and down in the woods, maybe jog, maybe do whatever I have to do, get sweaty, get it out of me, and then think, okay, why is this a problem? How is God going to use this for their good? Like, start to open your mind to what could come next and how God can use this in their lives. And that will bring up that faith piece that you're looking for. So for sure, the journaling, but don't believe everything you write down. You will have a lot of thoughts that are causing your pain. And separating out the facts from the thoughts is extremely helpful.
I think it's important to tell someone who would be new at writing down their thoughts to do it as we would invite you here in our lounge. Like, do it for yourself without judgment. Like, there is no right or wrong thing in that moment that you're writing out on this piece of paper. It is for no one else other than you. So do it without judgment. Don't second guess yourself. Don't, like, you're just literally doing a thought download. How about
I
you,
love that.
Emily?
Well, and I was thinking too, as you were both talking, we've all heard this. We choose our discomfort. So if somebody has never done a thought download like we just talked about, it can maybe feel like, oh, you want me to do that? Like I actually have to write down all of my thoughts, and then you want me to go like actually figure out what's fact and what's feeling, and then I have to go like process it. Like all of that can feel very uncomfortable if you're not used to coming face to face with what is the problem here. So that's discomfort. If you don't do any of that and you just continue to live in the mental drama of the situation, that's also discomfort. And often that can compound if you're not taking the time to process it, to come face to face with it. So we all choose our discomfort. Even Lisa, when you were talking about building a website, I had a task this week. And as far as building my business, it was on my task list all week. And I kept avoiding it, kept avoiding it. I kept telling myself, I don't know how to do that. I'm not sure what to say. I don't know where to start. All kinds of discomfort that was with me all week. When I actually sat down to do the thing, it took way less time than I thought it was going to take. It was a little uncomfortable to sit down and say, okay, just do it. Even though it's new, even though you're not sure, just do it. But that was short lived when I actually sat down to come face to face with the task. So you choose your discomfort. Do you want the Band-Aid to be ripped off and it hurts for a short time, or do you want to slowly peel it away and prolong the pain?
I love all of that. I think that that is a perfect place to kind of wrap up this episode with all of us just sharing our last thoughts for today, because we all have more we could say on this topic for sure. For today, just to know that we are here walking alongside you. Like, we all have discomfort. And again, discomfort is not the enemy. You get to decide what to do in that moment. And I love Angela's recommendation about just entertaining the idea if you've never journaled before. And as I mentioned, like, it does not have to be perfect. It is literally I have scrap paper in front of me. Like, yes, you can have a pretty journal, and it could be a cocktail napkin. Like, if you are at a coffee shop and you're like, oh my gosh, I really feel like I'm gonna come apart right now, just write it all down, however that looks for you. All right, ladies, you have anything else to add today before we wrap it up for our listeners?
Oh, I think it was a great discussion. And like you said, it's ongoing for us as we talk to each other in the Marcos. There's always discomfort. It's part of the human experience, like we said before.
Mm-hmm. I think it's important too to just, have compassion for yourself. One of the things I love that the three of us do in the Marcos is because we show up in the wild, so to speak, in the Marcos, we can also just literally laugh at ourselves. Like, just it doesn't have to be so serious. Like, just show up for yourself authentically, which I am the first person to raise my hand and realize that that is harder to do than it is to say. But we are here for you. We are walking alongside of you. So once again, thank you for joining us today in the Life Coach Lounge. If something resonated with you, we'd be honored if you hit that subscribe button and share this episode with someone who might need to hear it as well. You can connect with us on Instagram and Facebook, and we're going to continue to support each other between the episodes. And until next time, we're grateful to walk alongside of you on this journey, and we'll see you next time in the lounge. And ladies, I will see you in the Marcos.